yourself on Sila. Sila. That is why it is said, Sile Pachaya Bharosa Panya. First establish yourself on Sila. Because if you are not on Sila, or make an effort to lead a Silvat life, then it will be difficult for you to concentrate and develop your mind. So these are important aspects in the preparation for liberation. Now let us hear what our panelists have to say on this subject. So I have made clear on behalf of the Kalambubai MBA to request Dr. Kosal Disilva to make his presentation for 20 minutes. It will be followed by a discussion of 20 minutes, and then Professor Kantima Vijay Bhandara will speak for 20 minutes, followed by a discussion of 20 minutes. Dr. Kosal Disilva.
Good morning, our friends. Dear Mr. Raja Kurupu, Chairperson, dear President, dear Professor Chandra. Today the topic is very much into liberation. Liberation is the one that we all are expecting to achieve. When we see the topic preparation for liberation, with all due respect, I leave the Sutta path to our good professor, Chandima Vijay Bhandara, because I can't hold a candle to him when you talk of the sutras, because his survey through the Tripitaka is very much more than mine. But I would, leaving that for him, I would discuss preparation for liberation in a different way. When you say preparation for liberation, what I believe in is all should go together. You don't prepare and then go into a path. You tread on the path right from the beginning. But while treading the path, you develop various aspects, including the very important Sila. There can be certain places where we feel that one has to come before the other. True enough. Without being a good man, you can't do anything. So your being a virtuous good person is very important. I don't deny that. But in my point of view and in my angle of looking at this topic, I would take a different stance. In the preparation of Nibbana or liberation, I would say there must be a time. Because for anything, you have a time. You can't do anything without taking the time into consideration, though time is a relative thing. Now when you take the time for preparation, it is none other than the present moment. I would say preparation for liberation should be the present moment. Preparation for liberation, holding on the path, is the present moment. There is no other moment for a follower to prepare for Nibbana. So, important thing is the present moment is the moment that you prepare for Nibbana. That we have to take very, very well into our hearts. Now, this moment we are listening to Dhamma. Even this moment is a preparation for liberation. Not because we listen to them, but we have to prepare for liberation in a different manner, in practical way. But this is a moment that we have to prepare. liberation. So this is very vivid. Now we are gathered here and we are still preparing for liberation. So this moment we have to utilize fully for our preparation. Then the next thing is, any moment in your life will be the present moment for you. Any coming moment will be then the present moment. So at all present moments you have to be treading on the path. So I am taking treading on the path as preparation also. Now, when you utilize every moment, some moments are different from the other moments. Now we are listening to Bana. This moment is different. Then at the time you are washing your face, you are in the washroom. That moment is different. Then at a different moment you are in a hot seat where your office work is going on. Now that moment is very much different to the moments you mentioned earlier. And because there is a variation in the moments, question comes whether we could do that. Yes, we could. We should. That is what Buddha says. Even though you are in office, even though you are at home, even though you are listening to Bana, every moment you must be treading on the path. You are preparing for liberation. Treading on the path means preparation for liberation. So now, then did Buddha, why did then Buddha ask you to go to a shunyagara? Why did Buddha ask you to go, ask the monks or to a lay person to go to a quiet place at the foot of a tree? Why is that? Because he saw that moment can be a better moment for your concentration. So the same thing that you are going to do at office and everywhere can be very much, can be done profoundly and well when you get isolated into a place. That is why Buddha said, Shunyagara Gatova, Rukkha Mula Gatova. That kind of description was given because you do it better when you go to a place like that. Your contemplation can be directed to many other things which you may fail when you are spending some time in an office or somewhere there. So, treading the path profoundly can be done, taking every aspect into consideration in certain moments. Say for example, you want to look at your mind, you want to look at the dhammata that is occurring within your mind, the thoughts. Then the examination will be very easy. You will see the rise and fall very clearly when you are doing that, because you are not intermingling your exercise with other things like office work. So you can see why Buddha said so. So we shouldn't go away with the idea that Buddha had asked us to do this only when we are in a shunyagara. Not because of that Buddha said so. Buddha wanted us to do this every moment. This preparation, this going into liberation, he wanted us to practice every moment. But he specified certain places and areas, quiet places, certain moments as better ones than the others. So we have a very clear understanding now that we should be doing it every present moment. So that is very clear to us. Then let us look at the mode that you are in, your mindset. Number 2 is, if you are preparing for liberation, you should have the urge and the want. That is Chanda. Now Chanda, Chitta, Virya, Vimamsa are 4 Iddhipada. Out of that, the Chanda, in a good way, You can have Chanda as Agati also to do wrong things. Chanda. Chande and Agati. His likings are no end to them. So don't confuse the word. The same Chanda comes up when you have the want to do the good thing. So for liberation, you should have the utmost urge that your want, your liking to go there, but not the greed. Some people are very greedy about Nibbana because they want to enjoy your life, which is a misconception. Some people like to live a free, nice life. They think it's a very kind of wonderful. I mean, true dukkha you experience in the best correct way, in the genuine way when you are in Nibbana. When you are in Nibbana, you see everything beautifully, correctly, very correctly. Truly, you see everything. But that doesn't mean you liberate for your enjoyment. Then you go into greed but not Chanda. So you will have to have the Chanda to liberate. Now because we don't have that highest level of Chanda, all other things become before the Nibbana. That is our problem. When we live a daily life, our other wants become much more than the Chanda for Nibbana, so that we tend to replace the Chanda with other things. So you can see the energy of that Chanda is very important for a person who is aiming at liberation. So you should place the Chanda to Nibbana on top of everything else. So that is the dedication you should have. Then your trading becomes very easy and practical and time concerning the time, moment to moment you start practicing. So Chanda is a very important thing for your treading the path. Then the third thing is, a person who is trying to tread the path, these are all practical points because we are expecting something much more from the Pitakas, from our professor. So the other thing is, a person who is treading the path, through experience, I would say, should be a very happy person all the time. He should be a very happy person, a person who is crying and repenting and taking the dukkha in a wrong manner cannot tread the path properly because he is weeping all the time. Buddha said to look at dukkha happily because you see the true nature. When you see dukkha, the true nature of life, you see it with happiness because you see the truth. So you just don't look at the dukkha and cry away, weep away, because that is another dukkha. So you don't go from dukkha to dukkha by contemplating dukkha. So what the person's mode, the mindset should be a happy one. And also the next one, happy in the sense is happily doing it. Wherever he practices his path, he is happily doing it. So it's a good preparation for you to be happy all the time. How can you be happy? Happy when you are not being infested by the Panchanivarana. So if you don't give a place, that is right at the beginning. Once you go into meditation, in Dhammanupassana, even the Panchanivarana, you have to look at very happily. If greed occurs to you, you will have to see that the greed has come to me and it is gone now. So rise and fall of everything should be seen. But to start with, when you start with treading on the path, you should be a happy person as much as possible, putting away the greed, as much as possible, you should be a free mind. And the responsibilities you take over should be very less. Now, you can remember there were monks who were trying to teach others without getting liberated. So Buddha chased them away. Go and do your job and come and then expound Dhamma. But to the Arahats, Buddha said, you go ahead and dispense Dhamma. Now you can see, so Buddha valued the liberation without taking a lot of responsibilities onto your shoulders. If your responsibilities are very much, you are not Salla Hukka Buddhi. You are something with a loaded mind. Loaded mind. Your mind is loaded with things which is a hindrance itself to your liberation. You may preach, you may expound, you may talk Dhamma, you may reading and talking, all that is good. But for your liberation, don't burden your mind with responsibilities, which is not good. So that is another point that I would like to mention here for liberation, the preparation for liberation. And the next one is quite interesting. Now, when you are a free mind, when your responsibilities are low, now what have you to do? Now I said every moment you have to be prepared to tread the path. Not only preparing, you have to be prepared to tread the path. What is the simple formula Buddha said? Yeah, having your mind, Vinaya Loke Avidya Domanassa. When your mind is free, when you have kept your mind a little away from all these greediness and anger and the other things, you will try to every moment to look at what you are. That is what Buddha wanted. Buddha wanted to look at what you are. Now the important thing is, when you are trying to look at what you are, I will come to that. The very important thing comes to your mind. Should you look at your other things, what you are, as a bad person? Now that is the important factor here. Now when you look at your mind, when you look at your body again inside the mind, thoughts, minds, all that nivarana, when you look at them, you have to know that you are not doing a wrong thing at that moment. Now that is very important. Now when we talk of Sile, Patitta and Naro Sapanyu, we talk of an earlier Sile. You be a Silvanta and a virtuous person and come to this. Good. I don't deny. That is very good. I don't contest. But at the moment when you are contemplating on something of yours, at every moment, you must see whether you are doing the wrong thing or the right thing. Then and there you patittaya sile. Now when you know that you are not doing the wrong thing at that point of contemplation, now you are in sila at that moment. Because you are not doing anything physically or mentally wrong. So when you take the sila, patitta and naro sapanyo, don't put it to a preparation part and just forget about it. When you do it, now see for example, you are contemplating on what you do. I contemplate that my arm has gone and taken this phone. Now I have done an action. So now Buddha has said, this action, sampajanya pappa in Satipatthana. You do it mindfully. When you do it mindfully, you have to know whether you are doing something wrong or right, which comes with sampajanya. So that is sila. That is sila at that point. It's not only the pansil which you observe, datasil or dasasil. If you know that you are not doing a wrong thing, you are doing a daily activity. But if you are now killing an animal, now you must know your sila is not there. You are now doing something wrong. So you are not patittaya on sila. So you have to know that the sila comes every time, every moment. Every time, every moment when you contemplate. So you have to know every moment when you contemplate, you are doing the right thing. So what Buddha wanted was, on treading the path, when you prepare for liberation, preparing for liberation is treading the path. I didn't go into divided ones like Sila, Samadhi, Panya. But when you prepare, you tread. When you prepare, you are treading on the path. Right? When you are treading on the path, the simplest formula Buddha has given, if you don't know anything else, you concentrate on what you are doing. what is happening to you, what is going through the mind. Contemplate, contemplate, contemplate. Buddha has not left anything. He has asked you to contemplate on the thoughts, contemplate on the mind, contemplate on the bodily actions, body, the parts, nothing that he has kept you away from. So, if you tread the path, if you prepare for liberation, the first and foremost is keep the mind on what you are doing and what is going through your mind. Then you will nicely see how the things rise and fall, rise and fall, rise and fall. So, looking at the mind, looking at the activity, looking at the mental functions all the time. Even if you are in office, you do it with mindfulness. So, that is the only thing that I can talk of. My time is over. Otherwise, there is some much more for me to expand. But respecting the time and the schedule, I would stop here. Thank you very much.
Interesting presentation by Dr. Kusal Silva, very forcefully expressed, unlike on previous occasions, because that shows his commitment to this preparation for liberation, which he says is while preparing, you are treading the path, because at that time when you are going wrong in any direction, you become aware and you put it right. So what Kosala presented today is open for discussion, comments, questions, and so on. Yes.
Now,
Yes.
excuse me.
Yes.
Now, when we speak, you said, now at the moment we are preparing for liberation as we are listening to Dhamma. Now, would you agree with the things that are being done at temples? The temples are the places where we have to listen to Dhamma. But at the temples there are so many things that not according, they are not done according to Buddhism. Now, especially I would like to draw your serious attention with regard to Bodhi Puja, or to engage in various pujas. Nowadays people engage in the Pittamal Puja. These things are, Buddha has never told us to do. Because he has said, Naimayam Mala Gandhadi Karunta Mama Puja. Karunti Nama Dhammanu Dhamma Patipajjanta Eva Panamam Pujanti Nama. Those who worship me with flowers and incense are not really worshipping me. But those who learn my Dhamma and live accordingly are really worshipping me. Now, what do you think about these things, these unnecessary things that are taking place?
Even though I can't say out of the context, but even though it's a bit deviated from our subject, I would say for liberation, if I will take it like this, because there is a cultural part of the sasana. Now the sasana is not the hasna, because now actually what sasana is the message that the Buddha has given, taking the message. That is the real, one of the good meanings of sasana. But now the thing is, now everybody will come to the temple because there is a temple. Now we have to understand, even I went to temple like that. People come because there is the Bodhiya and Bodhi Puja is there. So now, at least for attraction of the people to the temple, having the rituals, though they are not liberating you, is okay. Because for the keeping the people in the association, I would say. But it's our duty, Mr. Saparamaha, when they come in, whatever the puja you do, to tell the true Dhamma, what is Dhamma, what is Anicca, what is Dukkha. So if you can say that, give the people that idea, I won't mind getting the people into the temple through such things. But that shouldn't be our basic thing. In other words, I would say, by doing a Bodhi Puja, you won't liberate. To answer your question. So your liberation is achieved in a different manner. You have to tread the path according to what Buddha has prescribed for that.
Of course, these rituals also, if properly practiced, that also can go a long way to liberation. Because you must be concentrated on the subject. But what is happening mostly is our mind is not there. You see, when we are even offering flowers, we don't contemplate on the impermanence of things. You see, our mind is going here and there, you have the mechanical force. Yes, please.
The liberation, what do you mean by liberation? We are liberated from what?
Yes. Now, it's a very long thing to answer. Question is short, but it's amount, volumes you have to talk. Now, liberation in the sense, you see the world and about you in the true sense, true way. You truly see the world. Now, I will take an example, then you will understand. That is why Buddha says your dukkha is no more. I mean, you may not take dukkha as the way we take, right? If you see dukkha properly, like that. So, if I will take an example. Now, when I see somebody, I see that as a person who is truly there. That is how we see. Now, if I look at you, I look at you as a very permanent figure and I feel I see you. Now, conventionally okay, but it is not only the convention. We have a belief that there is a person, here is a person. So now that belief puts us away because our behavior and everything is centered around that. But if you truly see what you are and what I am, I will see that there is no person at all. So now you can see when a person liberates, his mind liberates from Miccāditthi. His mind comes to Sammaditthi. You start with Sammaditthi and end up with Sammaditthi. That is Buddhism. So that is what in short I can tell you, but lot more you can elaborate on. So you truly see what it is, so then you will see that the world is anicca, dukkha and anatta. Just talking words will not do that. When we practice and come to that, we will see that.
Of course, liberation is also another term that is used for Nibbana. That is, you escape from the unsatisfactory features of life, from anicca, dukkha and anatta. Correct? Mr. Raj,
Raja.
As speaker said, the path to liberation depends on the timing, that is, this time is the present time, the time. Then the place as Satipatthana says, Kambunagatova, Punyagato, that is to prevent entry of various messages to your mind from the ear and the daily world. Only the mind will be active when in such a secluded location. And then thereafter, the control of the mind, as we quite explain, can be conscious about what to do. The whole Idiyapata is the Satipatthana. That means to keep the mind fixed on a certain objective without allowing it to run around. And the next one is the Sampajana, that while having concentrated, to keep on thinking of anicca, dukkha, anatta, so that you prepare yourself to find liberation by finally realizing the anatta, dukkha, anatta of your body as a mind. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah. Now, our mind is not static in the same wavelength all the time. By nature, we have emotions, hunger, thirst, anger. So at those times, the velocity of the movement of the mind varies. So Lord Buddha has said for you to get into a proper framework, you must follow the Eightfold Path. Samma Ditti, Samma Sankappa, Samma Vacha, Samma Kammanta, Samma Ajiva, Samma Vayama, Samma Sati, Samma Samadhi. He mentioned these because normally at most times people are out of this trend. So to get the mind cultured, to live in the present moment properly, you will have to tread this path. So I thought of mentioning this as you had probably couldn't cover all this.
Yes, I think Dr. Basil, I think you brought out a very good thing. Now, even treading the path on Satipatthana way, it is every moment. So every moment, even to tread on the path in the Satipatthana way or the Aryashtangika marga, you have to be mindfully looking at it.
Yes.
Yeah. So every moment, your mindfulness will fulfill all those 8. Because now, what I think Dr. Basil tries to say is, in Aryashtanga Marga there are Samma Vata, Samma Kammanta, all that. I didn't deny that. That is true. Now for a person to be good is always good. And to concentrate and develop the mind is always good. But when you take the moment to moment, you can't wait until you do something else and until you come to this through something else. But all that should be practiced together. That is what. Now what Buddha says is every moment if you practice the mindfulness and the sampajanya, all those 8 will be fulfilled. Because you are not doing something on a wrong thing now. So you are physically not doing anything wrong, you are mentally not doing anything wrong, and you are concentrating on what is happening at the moment. So your Samma Sati is there. If that is profound, you can go into Samadhi also. And your Ditti will come up very well. Because when you keep doing that, you will very nicely see how the things come and go. Then you get the wisdom or the Samma Ditti very correct. So when the Samma Ditti comes up, you know that the world is not what I thought.
Of course, it is a very difficult thing, you see, to practice, you see, to be mindful all the time. You see, the people are made, but the effort has to be made. Yes.
Does mindfulness has any action? When we are in mindfulness, is there any action?
You mean, is mindfulness an action? Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, it's a mental exercise. When you are mindful, you are exercising your mind to observe what is happening. So mindfulness.
Sometimes we are not thinking anything.
No, you are thinking of what is happening. Now say you got something. Now you are keeping a watch. That is, you are like a sentinel, right? Now a thought occurred to your mind, so you see how it arose.
And when it moves,
When it moves out, you see how it went out.
not went out, it proceeds.
Yeah, if it proceeds, you can see how it is occupying your mind. So you are always watching, and you don't according to Satipatthana, you don't force yourself, but mere keeping that watch, you will see that it decays, it goes off.
It is, of course, you can say, it is also mental action. Because mentally you are not nowhere, you are concentrating. Yes? Yes, Raj.
I think we must thank Doctor for giving us a very practical approach about the preparation and the path development both being the same. Because most of the preparation that is now very popular is not for objective is not liberation. Objective is rebirth. Objective is more calmer pleasures. So I think your approach about Yoniso Manasikara, there's a sutra I think that supports that, the Sariputta Sutta, where Venerable Sariputta is asked, what should a layman do? And he says that Yoniso Manasikara. What should a Sovan person do? Yoniso Manasikara. Anagami, Satudagami, all that he says Yoniso Manasikara. Similarly, our Sati Sampradaya, that is the entry, that is the entry to the path, that is the development of the path. I think, thank you for giving us that perspective.
Thanks, Raj, for your commentary. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Doctor, as Raj says, your presentation was brilliant. For the first time I have heard something new, put it in some way. That is perfectly right and brilliant. The question I am asking, Doctor, maybe hypothetical, you may not be able to answer hypothetically fully, because unless they are arahats, we may not really be able to answer. Knowing that, I am asking, now, as this gentleman said, keeping your mind, mindfulness is action. That means action means, you said that is yes, then it's karma. Now, Nibbana is also known as karma kshaya. So, when you are contemplating sati, is there no karma there, positive or negative, or kusala or kusala? And ultimately, when you keep on doing samma sati, ultimately, how do you ultimately liberate that? Maybe no one else can answer that question unless they are, but hypothetically, what would you say?
Yeah, now when you take mindfulness, mindfulness is an exercise where you look at what is happening. That is true. Right at the beginning, when you look at this, you may be always in a punya. Right? You may have results. You may have good results and vipaka may be there. But as you keep doing this, when you are advanced, your mind, your sati will show you the reality of the world. When that is so profound and when you see the reality of the world, all other factors will mature. Now through that you will do, the Samma Ditti will dawn. Through keeping this sati, the Samma Ditti will dawn because you comprehend also in the correct way. Then your Saddha, which was not there properly, will really get to the point, okay, this is the thing. Right? Then you understand. This is the right thing. So your confidence becomes maximum. Then all other factors like that, I just take to Saddha, will mature quite well. When that matures, when you see the reality of the world, you get the nibbida, and you will get dispassionate. Not that your happiness is gone, you will see what is this. You see, you will get dispassionate. Then your enchantment through other things will go. Then you will, with the asava, jnana dawning, you will quite quit the place by destroying the better. So, right at the beginning, it may give you kusala and vipaka. But when you tread the path deep, you will really see and get the jnana right.
Thank you.
And the reference was also made that you are greedy for nibbana, greedy for liberation. Now, of course, that is the greed, but here our objective is to give up greed, liberate ourselves from greed. Further questions? Yes, yes.
Thank you, Dr. Costa, once again for a brilliant talk. And you mentioned the importance
Make it
of
brief,
being mindful on what you are doing all the time. And by being mindful, you know whether your action is right or wrong. Now my question is, who decides whether action is right or wrong? And how do you know what you are doing is right or wrong? Because sometimes we think certain actions are wrong, but a person will do the same action and justify it as being right. So for instance, say there's a coconut estate belonging to a million. Next door there may be a poor, very poor family with children to feed on. No income, the coconut falls on that, they take it, they're stealing.
I think your point is taken now.
Yeah.
I think what you said was, how do you know what is right and what is wrong? Yeah, that of course, you have to go by, first you go by the world's, the conventional theory of good and bad. First, that is how you enter. Right? When you enter, when you do something, you can easily understand, Politha, you can easily understand whether you are doing the wrong thing or not. Because now, if you are concentrating on what is happening from your experiential knowledge, not from today's knowledge, what you have gathered as wrong and right is the one which you should look into. Now, Buddha has said, if something does wrong to you or to another, that is wrong. Now, that is in suttas, that is what is given. But it can go deeper than that, because sometimes a person may be very religious and doing the wrong thing. Right? In the religious flavor, he may be doing the wrong thing which may not go into his liberation. So that also you should understand that this is not what I should have done. Like getting engrossed in a ritual without doing anything else. Right? So I think it's a very tricky question, very good question. You always ask a question like that. Very difficult to answer for you. Anyway, we have to go by what we know and from our point of view and the point of view of the world.
Sometimes it is very easy to see between the right and the wrong. For instance, if you have a desire to hurt animal, then you know it's very obvious. But you gave certain examples. For instance, there is a crisis. To save someone, you might do something wrong. So you have to make a balance. There, in my opinion, is that you have to make your judgment yourself. You see, given the circumstances, in those circumstances, is it justifiable? Yes, please. You asked the question.
Can I ask another one?
Yeah, no, wait. Any other questions? Yes.
When you are in mindfulness and you have to judge the right and wrong, you have to recall your experience or compare and see what is right or what is wrong. You have to call experience and analyze it and compare it.
Actually speaking,
mindfulness.
Actually speaking, dear friend, mindfulness is not to analyze right and wrong. Mindfulness is to look at what is happening to you all the time. To mind and your mind, what is going through your mind, that is what you look at. But at the same time, what I say is, being mindful is not, you are not doing the wrong thing. If you are doing a wrong thing, you know that it is the wrong thing. So that there also you can be mindful. But that mindfulness will not take you to liberation. That is what I say. You go and do something, some harm. A person can say, oh, you very well knew the rise and fall of the harm. It is not right.
Yes, make it very short, because they are running short.
How to decide whether you are doing right or wrong? What I have heard is that if it doesn't harm yourself or others, this is right. Right. However, you need to qualify this, because that depends on your wisdom. Because when we were children, there are certain things we did thinking that we were, but with greater comprehension of experience, etc., maturity, you know that that was wrong. And as your level of understanding and comprehension of what is good and bad, then you change your way. So it all depends on your level of understanding what is good and bad.
I think it's our moha that puts us away. It's the nature of our samsaric life. We are used to something, and we bring out only that. So with our maturity, we will see things better.
What you are saying is, at the moment that you say things or do the thing, you don't think it is wrong. You don't think it is wrong. But later on reflection, you think it is wrong. One thing is very important is not to regret that. Because you can't undo, it is done and finished. You can only make up your mind not to repeat it in the future. So now I think the time is up. We would kindly request Professor Chandima Vijay Bandara to make it.